Welcome to No Hacks Show, a weekly podcast in which we talk to smart guests about the many ways you can optimize your online presence. I'm Sunny. My guest today is Eli Schwartz. Eli is a growth advisor who worked with companies like WordPress, Tinder, Coinbase, Mixpanel, to name a few. He's a book and course author, conference speaker, co-host of the Contrarian Marketing podcast, and a lot of other things, but I'll stop there. Eli, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for considering me a smart person. I appreciate it. It's not every day that I get that.
Come on. All those companies that I mentioned, and there was a lot more in your LinkedIn profile and in your bio that you consulted for. Was there something that influenced your work on this book, Product-Led SEO, from consulting for those big companies?
No, it's
like, were there any findings that helped?
It's the opposite. So the Product-Led SEO is essentially born out of my full-time job. So I spent nearly 7 years at SurveyMonkey, and I began the book, with a story where I joined SurveyMonkey. I might call my second day or third day. SurveyMonkey was amazing. So when I joined, it was 2012. The company had been around since 2000, I think. Never, ever, ever did SEO. Like my first day, I got handed, they're like, oh, welcome, you're the SEO guy. Here's audits. And they gave me like 3 audits from like well-known SEOs in the world. No one had read them. So they were just paper. And I flipped through them and they were all the same and no one had ever done anything. So my first day, second day, there's low hanging fruit everywhere. No one ever did SEO. There's tons of things. I came up with an idea. I went over to the engineer to tell him my idea. And he said, marketing doesn't go to tell engineering what to do. And I was shut down, done. I went over to other executives and they're like, oh, that's really dumb. We're not going to do that. So I was like, I left a good job at a startup, joining this big company, and I don't know how to do any of this. Like, I've got great ideas. I know how to do SEO. I've helped companies grow as side hustles. I worked at the startup. We got hit by a Google penalty. I helped recover a Google penalty. I really understand technical SEO, and I'm getting blocked before I can even launch anything. So that was really the heart of like learning product-led SEO and discovering that it wasn't about how smart I could be at SEO, and it's really how diplomatic I could be at SEO, how open-minded I could be at SEO, how broad speaking and really focusing on product could I be at SEO. So that was the beginning of it. And really my entire journey at SurveyMonkey was around developing this idea of product-led SEO. And I didn't crystallize it until I was almost done, till about a year before I left, when I started speaking at conferences and being on podcasts and writing for SEJ and writing for other publications. And I learned that I had a different approach towards SEO. I didn't care about any of the things the tactical things that people cared about, like, at the time, site speed. Finally, site speed's gone away, or your title tag has to be this number of characters and all those things. I really focused on what's the point of all this? How do we make money out of this? How do we hit business KPIs? And that was the development of product-led SEO. So the reason it became a book was because I was side hustling. I was at SurveyMonkey and companies would reach out and they would say, all right, tell me a price for your services. How much do you want to charge per hour? And I said, well, you're just pricing me against other people. Let's talk about if my approach is a fit for you. And I would share with them, I would ask them what their goal of SEO was. What do you want to do? Like, why are you doing SEO? And we would talk through that. And then I would explain product-led SEO, which again, I hadn't named at the time. And they would always follow up with like, where do I learn more about this? And I didn't have anywhere to send them. So I started writing. So that's how product-led SEO was born. And then as I decided to quit a job and not get another job and be a consultant full time, I realized I needed some sort of differentiator. So I was like, I'll do a book. I don't have any clients. I'm not working. So I'll spend time working on the book. And, I was very fortunate in that there was a bigger audience for the book than I expected. I thought I was going to give away the book for free, give it to my friends and family. Maybe when clients would ask me what I could do for them, I'd say, well, here's my business card. It's 260-ish pages. So that's it. It wasn't born out of any of the consulting. The consulting actually improved upon the methodology of product-led SEO.
Got it. Now, to those of you listening to the audio only, I'm showing the cover of the book. I need to know why this graphic? Like, what does it mean? It's been bothering me, that question. I wanted to know since I've seen the cover for the first time. Could you please tell me?
I wish I could say there's a deeper meaning behind it. So
okay, well that's a deeper meaning.
No. There's a little bit. So in the few minutes we were talking before we started recording, so you mentioned that my book was different because it didn't say this is everything you need to know about SEO. And that was the idea. I didn't want to write a book about everything you need to know about SEO because I think there's other ways to learn that. And also SEO changes. So we're recording this. I don't know when you're going to launch this, but the day we're recording this is the day that I think the entire world changed around SEO. Yesterday, Google launched their new AI-centric search. I think everyone's right to be freaking out. I think the rules have changed, but when I was writing the book, I didn't conceive that AI would exist. And, AI existed, but I didn't conceive that it would change search. But I think my book in SEO is still relevant. I didn't want to write a book about here's how to do keyword research today. Here's the tools that exist today. I barely talked about tools for that reason. So I really wanted to write an evergreen, holistic book to think about SEO. So when I worked with my designers at the publisher, they asked me what I want the book to look like. And they're like, do you want it to be orange? Do you want it, flashy? Do you want it to be like, one of those, like everything you need to know about SEO and sticks out on the shelf? And I said, I want it to look like a Malcolm Gladwell book. You ever read a Malcolm Gladwell book?
It does.
And you're like, wow, that was fascinating. What did you learn? Nothing, right? But so I didn't want to teach people nothing. I wanted them to get value from the book. But I wanted it to be this is a thought leadership book. This is a book that's approaching SEO from, I could give it to an executive and they won't be like, here's a flashy orange book. Everything you know about SEO would be like, well, this is a book that is okay to sit on my shelf. It looks like a Malcolm Gladwell book. And then the graphic around the wheat is because, again, I worked with a designer and I stressed with them my entire idea of organic. So I love this idea of search SEO being organic because it's natural. If you ever think about how do you do SEO for a brand new site? Way most people start doing SEO for a brand new site is the first thing they do is they find their competitors and they copy their competitors. Now, everyone knows that if you do that, you never, ever see the same results as your competitor. You can get the same links, the same design, the same website. I mean, people scrape sites and try to do this fake. It doesn't work. And that's because there's an element of organic search, natural. It's completely natural. It's like, how do you plant the exact same cucumber over and over again? You can't, right? I have 4 kids, right? And they're all different. How would I make the second one like the first one? It's impossible. It's organic. There's different things that go into that. And that's the way I think SEO works. Someone doing a search where I live in California is going to very much see different results from where you live in Portugal. Someone doing a search on a phone is going to see a different result than on a desktop. And all of those things tied together, whether you're logged in, whether you're logged out. Again, people say, search history doesn't matter, but it sort of does because people's search history is teaching Google's machine learning and they're learning all about results. So people of a certain age might like one kind of website. I see it all the time. You do a search and then you fed other sites. You look for results. Let's say you look for something very standard, like, I don't know, someone was just mentioning Tony Blair to me the other day. So if you look for the word Blair, is it going to be Tony Blair? Is it going to be Blair House where the vice president in America lives? It's all these different things. Those are all taught to Google and you're shown what the result should be. That's organic. There's no here, I'm going to do this exact formula and I'm going to make a cake and it's the exact same cake I made yesterday. Doesn't work. So that was the idea. So I was talking, I'm very sorry, that was super long-winded. But the idea is that it's wheat. It's natural. There's this natural thing to it. And that's where that graphic came from.
I love it. It does look like a Malcolm Gladwell book. I'll give you that. And comparing, I have an Amazon tab open where I would search for SEO books. This one looks different. And I'm sure that's what you wanted. There's no red, orange, blue, green, whatever. There's no cheap graphics on the cover. There's none of that stuff. It does look like this is outliers or whatever.
And it doesn't sell like those other books. Everything you need to know about SEO in 2023. And that is, there are people looking for that and they read it and hopefully they learn everything they need to know about SEO in 2023. I want the CEOs to buy my book. I love having these conversations with CEOs where they say, this is what my SEO agency told me, or this is what my SEO manager told me. Are they lying? Right? I like those conversations because sometimes they are. So you can read one of those books and maybe you'll need everything you know about SEO in 2023. But I want the thought leadership book that helps someone to think better about, is this a real channel for me or is it not?
I think that makes a lot of sense. So this is the lead up to my next question. I was watching another interview you did and you said more than once, you said this a lot of times, SEO is never going to die. Obviously, with what happened at Google I/O, it's going to change dramatically. We probably have no idea how it's going to change, exactly what it's going to look like. But do you have any predictions 5 years, 10 years from now? what SEO might be like?
So I think SEO will never die because users will always search. We're never going to be in a world where things are fed to us. We're going to be asking questions. Now, are we asking questions to assistants? Again, AI has changed everything because now we conceive of this different. Like a year ago, you would have been like, are you asking Google Assistant or are you asking Siri or Echo, Amazon Alexa? But now we're like, oh, you're asking ChatGPT, you're asking Bing Chat, you're asking Google's Chat, whatever it is you're doing. We're still asking questions. We're requesting information. So that's why I think SEO never dies, because you're always optimizing towards that ask. So that concept of SEO exists. What SEO means will definitely change. So it could mean that you're now optimizing your results so they show up in the chatbot, and the chatbot understands what, I don't know if that's the right word, crawlbot, whatever it is, understands what the content is. Or maybe you're optimizing the results so when someone clicks for more information from the bot, they go and they get more information and they can buy. But I think the role changes, everything changes. And it's a good thing. My prediction a year ago, and it's amazing how everything has changed. My prediction a year ago is that we would see a new search engine that would come and take market share from Google, because search is a lot easier than it's ever been. So you look at Bing, it's mostly like Google. You look like DuckDuckGo, it's mostly like Google. Search is not as complicated as it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So it becomes more about mind share and market share. Google has market share because they built this huge brand. Bing has market share because they pay people to use it. But there's other platforms. There's Apple. So Apple sends all their search results to Google, but Apple could decide they could have their own search engine. Facebook could have done the same. Amazon could do the same. But that was my prediction, that we'd see one of those companies decide to do their own search and not send it to Google and be good enough, the same way Apple's Apple Maps. And it's not as good as Google Maps, but it's pretty good. So I thought that would happen. Now, obviously, we're seeing something completely different, where maybe it's ChatGPT, maybe it's Bing. I think that's always been a good thing, because it brings us back to basics, which is I'm optimizing for the user to get information to help them in the very moment they're in. I'm not optimizing for a keyword that was told to me by a keyword research tool that this is the thing I need to write about. So I might rank and someone might click and then I might have a sale. It's not about helping the users. And that's the entire concept of product-led SEO. You're building a product for a user. The channel that the user finds it happens to be search, but I'm not building for the engine. I'm building for the user. I'm building for the end user. So I think all of this is a good thing. The nature of SEO will keep changing. I don't even want to get stuck making a prediction, because I would have been completely wrong a year ago.
Well, I mean, technically you're right. There's a new search engine. It's just the same old search engine doing it in a different way. So it's a massive shift, though. It is. Yeah, I don't even dare. I'm not an SEO person. I don't even dare to predict what it's going to look like. But you're right. People will always need to find something. That's the bottom line of search. Maybe it's not going to be search engine optimization, but like prompt optimization, whatever it is, it's just going to be there forever. So that's what product-led SEO basically is. You don't focus on the keywords. You just focus on what your product is and optimizing for people being able to find your product.
Well, not just the product. I'm creating products, but I'm optimizing for the channel. Right. So there are people that are doing that activity of requesting information. I want to build something so the people requesting that information from that channel will find what they're looking for. So that is the product I'm building. Obviously, there needs to be product market fit, that people are going to want that. But you're focusing from a product angle, not a this is how the search engine works today angle.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense. So who is the book for? Like, who is, you said you want it to be for CEOs, for C-level executives, but obviously, because it's not about tactics and like down to earth, go do this, find this keyword, like optimize for this keyword. So who is the ideal reader for your book?
So really it's about anybody that wants to understand how SEO works and how to think about SEO. So I say this all the time, like again, in the pre-show, we said, tell a lot of companies they shouldn't do SEO. A lot of companies I talk to, I tell them they shouldn't do SEO because the first question I ask them is, where do they get their users from? And if they say, well, we get our users by standing on the street, then they shouldn't do SEO. That's not where their users are. Or if they say we get our users from paid marketing because our organic search is way too competitive, maybe they can do SEO, but it's going to be very expensive and they need to be realistic. So the book, to those people, I say, buy the book. I make $1 or $2 off it. It's not like I'm going to get rich off a book, and no one gets rich off a book. But that should be the only money they ever spend on SEO, because if they're reading the book and they say, this doesn't make any sense for my business, SEO isn't going to work for me, good, leave it. Spend their money and resources and time on another channel that will work for them. So the book is really for anyone that wants to understand more about SEO, both to say this isn't going to work for me or this is going to work for me, I want to implement it. Realistically, if every person in the world wanted to do product-led SEO, I can't consult for all those people. I don't want to consult for all those people. I would love for them to come up with their own strategies and their own ways of doing these things. And that's who the book is for. Anybody that's in a position to make decisions around SEO, implement SEO, or just recommend SEO to another person. So I love that there are agencies out there that read the book and they go and sell product-led SEO. That's great. I don't care. That's good for me. They're not taking business away from me.
They're spreading the word. They're spreading your word, basically. I mean, what else could you want? And I think that's another use case for the book. Agencies, not necessarily SEO agencies, but maybe like dev agencies or CRO agencies that, they're right next to SEO, but not really doing SEO. I think it's really important to understand what that holistic approach is versus, and this is another thing that you mentioned a lot, this is not a tactical book. This is not like a go to that tool and like do that, implement, because those will die. Core Web Vitals, they're changing them now. So everybody who wrote a blog post about the first 3 Core Web Vitals needs to rewrite that, write a new one about the introduction to Next Paint, which they just announced for next year. So could you, to someone expecting a tactical book, what is the difference between a strategic book like this and a tactical book?
I mean, forget Core Web Vitals. Keyword research just died.
Yeah, that's fair.
So there, a lot of books will start with, this is what keywords are, and this is how you'll find keywords. This is how you choose your keywords.
Right.
I touch on it a little bit, but that's not the idea. The idea is I don't want to do the words that people are searching because those words will change. But the point is that I want to focus on, this is what people are searching, so therefore I will do the thing, regardless of the words they use. So the concept of query, I don't think query goes away. When you're doing chat queries, they're very long. Those are prompts. Now we call them prompts, but it's still a query. You're optimizing for that query. But if I would say, let's optimize for this prompt, and then we stop prompting, that goes away. So that's the difference between a strategic book and a tactical book. Understanding what I'm doing because a user is looking for that thing, create that. That's how you think about it from a strategic level. At a tactical level, I say, well, go to Google Keyword Planner, do this thing, download that, and these are your keywords, and here's how you understand the volume, here's all you do that. That, I think, is going away. Surprisingly, I never would have predicted that, but I think that's going away.
That is very interesting. I mean, I would have never thought, SEO was always about keywords and keyword research. That was the bread and butter of SEO for 20 years, almost 20 years. And now that's changing. So you mentioned, if you get your customers off the street, SEO is not for you, obviously. But at which point does a business know that, maybe it's time? Maybe we should start thinking about it?
So that's a good question. I'd say I always talk about people doing effective market research by understanding their users. So if you understand your users, it doesn't matter whether they're going to be doing SEO and you've done any SEO research, they're going to be doing SEO because your users and you understand your users. If you don't really do that, but if you're looking at your organic results and you say, well, I'm getting organic traffic, but I'm not really trying, that's also a time when you might want to say, well, what if I put effort into this channel? There was a business I talked to the other day. They've never done SEO. They believe that SEO is out of reach for them. I convinced them that SEO is not out of reach for them because their competitors are doing it. And they hopefully became aware that that's somewhere they should at least try. I don't know if they'll win, but they should at least try. So if your competitors are doing it, you should do it. If you're getting a little bit of traffic, you should do it. Or if you're starting a new business and you've talked to your users and understood your users and you said, well, how would you go about finding this thing? They might say, well, I Google it. You should be there. There are a lot of businesses that people wouldn't Google it. There would be, how do you find a restaurant? Well, I sort of Google it, but I don't go to results. I go to maps, right? So that's maybe where you don't want to do SEO.
So it's basically just different search engines. It doesn't always have to be Google. And on that note, we're so used to even the word Google it. Do you think that'll ever go away? Do you think there will ever in our lifetimes be another thing that kind of makes Google think
yes, I did think there would be, and I still think there will be. And it's going to come down to market share, really, like eyeball share, impression share, whatever it is. Like, I think people are going to be going on their iPhones and eventually not going to Google. I think people are going to be on Facebook platforms and eventually using that to go into something else, right? So on Facebook, we have facebook.com, you have WhatsApp, and you have Instagram. That's a lot of people that if Facebook would say, do a pivot to try to get them into search. And so again, search is about, it's not 10 blue links the way Google is. It's about, I'm looking for information, and that platform will help you find information. Oh, I should include TikTok too, right? So like that platform will help you find that information. So maybe you're going onto Instagram and Instagram says, well, it's not just about you want to find accounts and you want to find cool videos, but I can also help you find a place to eat right now. I'll send you to a Maps product and I'll find a place to eat right now. Do you want a business? You want a service provider? You need a plumber for your house. I'll help you find that. That's search, right? Maybe it's not e-commerce. And again, they can do all of that. So what search is made of will be different. And especially when it comes to informational search, where those are the things you might have gone to Google and then you end up on informational pages. Informational things might now go over to AI chatbots. And then it becomes all about the transactional search, the e-commerce, the map search, those kinds of things. Very easy for an Apple, a Facebook, an Amazon to really get into.
Yeah, that's a very interesting take on it. And I agree. Like I would never, that would not be my answer because I'm not an SEO person again, but it makes all the sense in the world. If your primary touch point with the device is anything Facebook does or TikTok or, well, Amazon probably isn't, but if it's something else and not Google, and then Google is just another step to go and find, I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, keep in mind the power of these platforms is you're always logged in. So they have your search. They know who you are.
They know more than just search. They know a lot more than Google, to be fair. They know a lot.
Yep. And the counterpoint to that, and I don't necessarily know how to explain this, but if you look at the breakdown of operating systems on desktops around the world, so Microsoft is between like 70 to 80% of all desktops around the world, with the rest being Apple and Linux and some small ones. Yet, all of those desktops come with Edge, which is Internet Explorer, and they come with Bing as the engine powering Edge. So keep in mind that in order for Google to get their 90+% market share, those people had to deliberately go into their Windows computers, go on Edge, download Chrome, and change their default search to Google. So it's a big leap, right? Google's built a great brand, and that could be that counter argument to, well, people are still not going to Amazon search things and Facebook search things and TikTok search things and Apple search things. Maybe, right? But like, it's also possible that those companies could say, you know what? We're done selling our search results to you, Google, because they do. We're done selling that. Apple gets billions of dollars from Google. We'll do it ourselves and we'll sell the advertising.
I think Apple made a play already with the advertising when they blocked the third-party app, the app tracking and the Apple mail privacy thing like that. So they probably are thinking about it at least.
I think it'll happen. I think it will happen.
I hope it does, because just having one company control 95% of the share, when was that ever a good thing?
Right. But you see, that's the best thing about like capitalism and the way the world is now. You look at these things and you say, Facebook, they're dominant forever. And then out of nowhere, TikTok goes and eats their lunch. And you're like, Google's like the biggest company in the internet. And out of nowhere, ChatGPT, a supposed nonprofit, just upends the entire thing. And then you look at Microsoft, and every time Microsoft tried to do something, Microsoft launched a smartphone. You're like, oh, that's it. Microsoft won the smartphone market. We know how that is, right? When Microsoft launched, look at Microsoft. They launched Bing. They're gonna crush it. Google's done. It's Microsoft, but no. So I think that's the most amazing thing, and it's not just capitalism, right? It's capitalism is driven by the users. So as users, we're like, not interested in Bing. And by the way, Bing still pays people to use Bing. So people get paid to use it. You earn like Xbox rewards cards. Get paid to use it, and still they can't get adoption. And Google can make a great product, and we will see people shift away, and things will change. So yes, Google might have 90% market share right now, but out of nowhere, they're going to end up losing market share to something. I don't think they're dominant forever.
That's a good point. I hope that happens soon. Let's put it that way. one last thing that I want to ask you is, I heard you say the question about product-led SEO, SEO in general, should never be how, it should be why. And that kind of goes back to tactics versus strategy. But could you just explain that a little bit more? Give me an example.
So a lot of times I'll have these conversations where people say, well, I want you to help me with SEO. And I always say, why? Right? Like, why do you want to do SEO? There was a business I was talking to. They were in the landscaping business. So they provided a SaaS tool for landscaping businesses. These are people, their customers are people that work outside in the sun, working on landscape projects, they're mowing lawns, building bushes, doing those kinds of things. And they want to do SEO. And I said, why? Why do you think your users are searching for you? Where do you find your users right now? And they said, we find our users one-to-one at trade shows. These big companies that do landscaping, they come to trade shows to learn about new innovations in their business. And that's how they find out about them and they start working with them. They don't search. No one is sitting there. If you look at landscapers, they work very hard. No one is sitting there digging in the dirt, planting new shrubbery. And then they pull out their smartphone and say, wow, I wish there was a technology that would just help me do this easier. Maybe, right? Maybe one or two.
Not yet.
Right, but that's not the way they're going to find things. And that, I think that applies to a lot of SaaS. A lot of SaaS has great innovations. You have a great way of doing something, right? Doing something faster, but people aren't necessarily searching for it. They're finding it other ways. You're at a trade show and you say, did you know that you spend 8 hours a week analyzing your analytics in Google Sheets? What if you could just press a button and do it for you? You're like, oh, well, I never thought to look for that because I didn't know it was possible, but now I know. So now that's the way they discover it. So if your users are not using SEO to find you, then you shouldn't be spending money in SEO. So that's the why. It's not how you're going to do SEO. Only once you know that, yes, people are looking for me, then you can say, well, what are they looking for when they look? And that's how you get to the how and the what.
That's a great answer. I mean, this applies to so many in life, but let's just keep it to websites and online. In CRO, for example, like there's this new way to add subscriptions to Shopify stores. There's this new app. How do we set it up? No, why do you want to set it up? Like, do you need that kind of functionality? And it's the same thing with searching. If the guy is just planting strawberries, you don't need to.
They do. There's an innovation. It just never occurred to them that there might be a better way to plant strawberries. And therefore, if it didn't occur to them, they're not going to look for it. I'll give you another example. Exactly. I worked with a company in the pharmaceutical space. They had birth control pills. Birth control pills, for the most part, the names of the pills come from the doctor. The doctor said, this is the pill you're going to take. And it's not the most common use case for someone to take the recommendation from the doctor and then Google and say, do I really want this thing? So this company was selling the actual pill and they were doing all their SEO around pill names. And I said, at that point, you're too late in the process. They've already been given the name by their doctor and you want to do something else around the birth control pill. They wanted to deliver it. That's not how you're interrupting that flow. So you need to find another SEO strategy. This SEO strategy of just creating content around the birth control pill names doesn't work. Actually, what they were doing with side effects. So people were Googling names and discovering the side effects. And then maybe they went to the doctor to get another prescription, but that's not part of their acquisition funnel. So just putting the pill name up. And again, this is why I never liked keyword research. When you do keyword research, those were the most popular keywords in their space, of course.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. On that note, let's just end the episode up. Eli, I want to thank you. This is I like this take on SEO. I've always been SEO adjacent. I've worked with a lot of SEO people at SEJ and even after, but I never really jumped in. But I like this approach a lot. I think this is the only thing that makes sense because it's time proof. Let's put it that way. I mean, it's the only way to really understand what you're doing and not just, hey, I read a blog post and I want to do that same thing. So I want to thank you. This has been a fascinating episode. And to everyone listening, I want to thank you as well. And please consider rating, reviewing, and sharing the episode. And I will talk to you next week.